I'm Oli Davis, this is the WrestleTalk News, and welcome to Summerfest Week! Yes, I still haven't forgotten that time Jeremy Piven got SummerSlam's name wrong. It's been 14 years! Why can I remember that, but not the reason I came into this room? Oh no! Oh yeah, Roman Reigns and SummerSlam plans. I'm doing the news. Saturday the 5th of August won't just mark the next chapter in the years-long Roman vs Jey Uso bloodline epic. It'll also be a full year since Triple H fully took over creative control of WWE, following Vince McMahon gracefully stepping down after a long career of service to professional wrestling. Slash was forced out due to mounting allegations of sexual misconduct. And that's how everything stayed. He never came back to control things from the shadows after that. Vince interference aside, or Vince-terference, Triple H has overseen arguably WWE's greatest run of premium live pay-per-view events in the promotion's history, with great matches, awesome angles, and even B-level shows feeling unmissable, just like he did in NXT. And the central part of that has been the epic Bloodline Saga. So what will happen at this Saturday's main event? The tribal combat match for both the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, that name is too long, and the recognition of the tribal chief between Jey and Reigns. I think we all know what we want, obviously. Lights cut out. Sunglasses on, dance sequence with Too Cool, because Rikishi is teasing involvement on social media again. Rikishi, who is the Usos' real-life father, Roman Reigns' first cousin, but not related to Samoa Joe, has been posting cryptic messages since the faction first imploded at May's Night of Champions, tweeting things like, "Enough," and a gif of the Godfather movie with the caption, "I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. These shows, I'm walking here." He more recently said in an interview, "I would have to go silent on that one about whether he'd be actually physically involved in the storyline." But now he's shared fan art from King Graphics 12 on his Instagram story of Jey Uso wearing the Tribal Chief Lei necklace, with Rikishi amongst the family members of Jimmy, Roman, and Solo behind him, with the caption, "Run it." Blood drop emoji, which led to this excellent Reddit response from Dirty Bird. "The Tribal Cheeks has spoken." Yes! That is top punning! Give me your best Rikishi Bloodline puns in the comments, or should I say Rikishi Bloodline bumps. So how could this possibly influence the match? Reigns was awarded the Lei back at Hell in a Cell 2020 after beating Jey in an I Quit match. It was presented to him by his father Sika Anoa'i and Uncle Arthur, who were formerly the Wild Samoans tag team. This was the contextual underpinning of the Bloodline faction, one based on Samoan tradition, family, and alpha male dominance. If Jey beats Roman to become the new tribal chief, perhaps he'll be awarded the Lei by his own father elder, Rikishi. The tribal combat stipulation requires permission from the family elders to take place, which have been established as Arthur and Sika, and potentially Rikishi, so they have already condoned Jey's challenge against Roman. Jey even said it was their idea. And the stipulation is no DQ, meaning outside interference can happen from Jimmy, Solo, Paul Heyman, the elders of Arthur, Sika, and Rikishi too, and maybe even Rock the Dwayne Johnson, who's been rumoured for a SummerSlam appearance over the last 2 weeks. But not you, Samoa Joe! You are the only Samoan wrestler not to be related to any other Samoan wrestler! Rather than feeling like the end of this year's long story, it's such an exciting one because it kind of feels like it's just getting started. There are so many possibilities to go down, with multi-layered characters and inner-faction relationships. If you haven't listened to it already, because I only started over the weekend, I cannot recommend Paul Heyman's appearance on the Rick Rubin podcast enough. The link's in the video description below. Didn't actually realise how few genuine interviews I've listened to with Heyman. Sure, I've seen him conduct like in-character work shoot ones like he's inside the rope store, but this confessional and candid chat with Rubin gives you a glimpse into the man behind the advocate, or the wise man. About halfway in, he really goes in depth on the creative process of the Bloodline Saga and his relationship with Roman. It's genuinely one of the best wrestling interviews I've ever listened to, up there with the Punk and Mox Shoot podcast and the Simon Gotch Enzo one. But it's more of just a nice chat as opposed to burying WWE and everything they stand for. Anyway, there's so many possibilities you can go with the Bloodline saga, but here's my pitch. Roman beats Jey at SummerSlam through really dodgy means, choosing retaining his Universal title over the dignity of the Tribal Chief role. The Elders decide to strip Roman from the head of the table because of that, and bestowing it on Jey, meaning you can run back Universal Champion Reigns versus Tribal Chief Jey at Payback. How would you book the Tribal Combat match? Let me know in the comments, where I'll be acknowledging people from outer generations of tribal tradition. But before Summerfest, we had Sunday night's NXT Great American Bash, which I'm about to recap in 1 minute. One take. Timer. 1 minute. After Team Bunch of Babyfaces beat Meta-4 on the pre-show No I'm Done, no! And an opening Cody Rhodes narrated video about Great American Bash, the show opened on the family-beating Gallus to become the new tag team champions, finally giving D'Angelo gold in NXT. Roxanne Perez overcame being beaten up in front of her hometown family to defeat Blair Davenport. This will presumably build her for a title shot. Gable Steveson had an awfully booked in-ring debut against Baron Corbin, which ended in a double countout because of brawling. The crowd booed Steveson so much, chanting, "You're not Angle," clap, 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 clap. They actually sometimes cheered Corbin. That's how bad this was. They cheered Baron Corbin. Dirty Dom retained his North American title against Wesley and Mustafa Ali, thanks to Rhea Ripley hitting a riptide on Lee through the announcer's table. Tiffany Stratton retained the women's title against Tia Hall when Andre Chase threw in his towel. And the main event was a genuine match of the year contender as Ilya Dragunov beat the crap out of both himself and Carmelo Hayes. Hayes won thanks to Trick Williams' interference. Oh! Is that a photo finish? Did I do it? I feel like that might have already been going when I finished. Go to VAR!
Hayes won thanks to Trick Williams' interference. Oh.
But don't expect to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks join in developmental anytime soon, as it looks like their long-time future is with AEW. The Elite's Omega, Hangman Page and the Bucks all have their AEW contracts reportedly expiring at the end of 2023. They've apparently been negotiating new deals for months with no confirmation of their long-term future. This suddenly seemed up in the air following the 19th of July Blood and Guts match, after which Kenny cut a promo saying they'll stick together, but not saying whether that would be in AEW. Dave Meltzer is now reporting in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that while the Elite themselves have stayed tight-lipped on what that means, sources in WWE feel the chances of them getting Omega has gone cold, so they do believe he's staying with AEW. This has changed since several months ago, where WWE reportedly had the impression they had a good shot at Omega in 2024. Looking at the latest match announcement for this week's special 200th episode of Dynamite, you can see why Omega and the Bucks are likely staying with AEW. They get to face Team TNA with Jeff Jarrett. Lucky buggers. Elsewhere in AEW, we covered the story of veteran women's wrestler Lou Fiso angrily tweeting about an unnamed person in the promotion stopping her from getting signed. Speculation had Britt Baker as the talent with too much power after a similar incident with Thunder Rosa. Sean Ross Sapp confirmed there was truth to the tweet but couldn't name who it was about specifically. PW Insider have since followed this up, clarifying Baker is not involved in this story. The next major AEW show is the huge All In event at Wembley Stadium in London on the 27th of August. But unless you're one of the 77,000 people who bought tickets to be there in person, nobody knows how everyone else around the world is going to watch it. Thankfully for people outside the M25, F4W Online have confirmed that Comcast is set to air All In as a pay-per-view with a $50 price tag, and it'll also be aired in movie theaters across the states like a normal AEW pay-per-view. Many commentators, though, think this is a business error for two reasons. Firstly, because there will be a second AEW pay-per-view All Out the week after, meaning fans might have to choose which show they fork out for unless they want to spend $100 in 8 days. And secondly, with such an impressive crowd, there was an argument this should go on free TV to get as many eyeballs on AEW looking like a major league promotion as possible, treating All In more like an advert than a pay-per-view. Not that we're struggling for free AEW content on TV, as the Saturday episode of Collision saw an excellent tag title match and CM Punk finally reveal what's in his bag. No, not Eric Rowan's spider. No, not the WWE spinner belt. It wasn't even Gwyneth Paltrow's head, Fight Club spoiler. It was the AEW World Championship he never lost, which he's referring to as the real World Championship of AEW, on the anniversary pretty much to the day of Bobby Heenan doing the same angle for Ric Flair in the WWF. Reference! Punk had spray painted the belt with the new Twitter logo out of respect for Elon Musk's branding superpowers. That, or it was the straight edge X, who knows? Ricky Starks, who is currently a heel, became the first challenger, setting up a match for this Saturday's episode of Collision to be refereed by Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. It'll be a very interesting episode ratings-wise, as it's the first to go head-to-head with a WWE Premium Live event of SummerSlam. The previous month's Money in the Bank was on earlier in the day because it was in the UK. MJF, meanwhile, has stuck to his recent babyface guns, not just being gracious in tag title defeat and keeping his Adam Cole bromance going, but also by putting over FTR and AEW in a post-match promo off-air. Perhaps we're building to a face MJF versus heel Punk undisputed title match. We'll have a full podcast review of Collision on the WrestleTalk podcast channel later today, so subscribe over there to watch that. But in the meantime, who are 10 WWE stars Vince McMahon won't let Triple H push? Watch on to find out. Ba 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 ba. I want to cash in my Money in the Bank contract. Ba 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 ba. You. Ba 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 ba. 1, 2, 3. That's Wrestling Classic Moments with Oliver Davis.